Hey guys, today's video is about triangles, how to classify triangles and how to classify quadrilaterals. We're going to do triangles first. First thing you need to remember is that a triangle has what's considered a first and last name. You could classify triangles by their angles and by their sides. So looking at the angle part first, the main thing I want you to remember is all triangles have two acute angles. An acute angle means it's less than 90 degrees. So for example, if I get my pen here, this is an acute angle, 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 that's an acute angle, and that's an acute angle. All triangles have at least two acute angles. Now, knowing that, you're going to use that to help you identify by angles. So on this one, on all of them, eliminate the two angles, the two acute. So we're going to take the two acute angles out of all of these. Get rid of all of those. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Now you're going to look at the angle that's left, the third angle. On this one, it's still an acute angle. If I still have an acute angle left, it's called an acute triangle. Acute triangle means all three angles are acute. On this one, we have a right angle left. If you have a right angle, it's called a right triangle. On this one, we have an obtuse angle left. If an obtuse angle means it's greater than 90 degrees. And since we have one obtuse angle, it's also called an obtuse triangle. So use that trick. Take away two acute angles on your triangle and look at the angle that's left to help you identify it. Now, the other method is to identify by the sides. Now, the little hash marks are kind of your key to look at. So on this one over here, we have one, two, three sides that are the same. I know they're the same because they all have one hash mark apiece. If this one had two hash marks, that means that one would be different than the other two. But all three are the same. If all three sides are the same, that is an equilateral triangle. Use the keyword equal, as in all sides are equal. On this one here, we have two sides that have one hash mark. That means there is two sides that are the same. If two sides are the same, that is called an isosceles triangle. There's different ways you can remember that. Like some say, remember there's two S's here, SOS, side. Or you can look at the eye as in I have two eyes and there's two sides. Whatever method you want to use. Just remember isosceles means two sides the same. On this last one over here, no sides are the same. This one has one hash mark, this one has two hash marks, and this one has three hash marks. None of them match how many hash marks they have. Therefore, zero sides are the same, and you would call that a scalene triangle. Now, going back to the whole triangles have a first name and last name, you can classify them by their angles and by their sides. Going back to this first one over here on the left, we have an equilateral triangle. We know three sides are the same, so it's equilateral. We're going to eliminate two of those two acute angles. There's one, take it out. That's an acute angle, take it out. The angle that's left is also acute, so I could also call this an acute triangle as well. So it's an acute triangle, it's an equilateral triangle, and on this case, technically, it does at least have two sides the same. It has three the same, but it still has two. So technically, you can also call this one an isosceles as well. Okay, looking at quadrilaterals. This is the quadrilateral tree, how you would normally see it. Now, what we're going to do with this tree is I'm going to work it backwards. To me, it's easier that way. So I'm going to start at the bottom. The most common quadrilateral is a square. Now, let me move this over. There we go. So there's a square. Going back, a quadrilateral is a four-sided polygon. A square is four-sided. One, two, three, four. What we know about a square is that all four sides are the same length. We also know that it has four right angles in it. That is what identifies a square. Four right angles and four sides the same. Now, if we take this square and we push it on this corner right here and push him over, you would form another shape called a rhombus. A rhombus is like a pushed over square. All four sides are still the same. It just got pushed over. So four sides are still the same. However, the angles are not the same. This angle here and this angle here is obtuse. This angle and this angle is now acute because obtuse is greater than 90 and acute is less than 90. So the difference between a rhombus and a square, four sides the same, four angles the same. A rhombus, four sides still the same, the angles are not the same. Now, if we go back to the square, we grab him by the side and we pull them apart, you'll form your next shape, a rectangle. Um, Rectangle does not have the sides the same. This side and this side is the same. This side and this side is the same. But the four are not the same. The angles, however, are 90 degrees still, because all we did was stretch it. So a rectangle has two sets of congruent sides, and it has four right angles. A square has four congruent sides. The word congruent means same, and it has four right angles. A rhombus has four congruent sides, but two sets of congruent angles, two acute and two obtuse. Now, what's common about all four of these is the rectangle has a parallel side here and a parallel sides here, two sets of parallel sides. Square has two sets of parallel sides, and the rhombus also has two sets of parallel sides. That is the definition of a parallelogram. A parallelogram has two sets of parallel sides. Now, just looking at this half the tree, if I was to ask you what a square could be classified as a square and work your way up. It could be sometimes it could be a rhombus, it could be a parallelogram, it could be quadrilateral. It's all so is a rectangle. However, a rectangle is not a square because the definition of a square is four sides the same, four angles the same. A rectangle, if it has sides the same, it's no longer a rectangle. It's a square. So a rectangle could never be a square. However, a square could be called a rectangle. It gets confusing, just remember the descriptions. Now, if all four of these are parallelograms, because they have two sets of parallel sides, what do we think goes over here? Trapezoid. Trapezoid has one set of parallel sides. It does not have two sets of parallel sides. Some of you learned this by like a family tree, and the trapezoid, I guess, would be that one uncle you don't want to claim. We all have that one. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, let us know, and I'll see you tomorrow.